Right now, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and in response, we have gone voluntarily into a self-induced economic coma. And the question in everyone's mind is, when is all this going to be over? Well, what do the medical experts say? The medical experts say that the virus will be here until next year, or at least until a vaccine is invented. The economists, on the other hand, are saying that the recession which has resulted, the global recession, is worse than the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009. So they are saying that it will take us 2 to 3 years to recover and go back to pre-pandemic levels. It therefore makes sense for us to understand the challenges of operating a business in the context of the stages of the pandemic. So the first stage is the mitigate stage, and our objective here is to flatten the curve and summit the peak. It's important to remember that in the absence of a vaccine, our options are quite limited. What we can do is to wear PPE, to disinfect, to social distance, to test, and then quarantine those who we identified as infected. Why are we doing this? It's not because we are afraid that this virus will wipe out humanity. We are doing this because we want to keep infections within the health system capacity. We want to prevent needless deaths resulting from a level of infection which is so high that we will not have enough hospital beds, ventilators, and ICUs. We don't want to reach a point where the infection levels are so high that we begin to forego treatment of other critical and life-threatening diseases. And while you might be in a segment which is least vulnerable to COVID-19, we want to protect the segments of our population which are at risk, those who are 50 years and older, and those with pre-existing conditions. We don't want to infect people. We don't want to expose people, even if they are at low risk, because when they go home, they might infect family members who are at risk. We want to use this time to build our health system capacity because resurgence is expected sometime later in this year. And we want to use this time to prepare for our return to semi-normal when the ECQ is lifted and we return to GCQ. So when the ECQ is lifted and we go to GCQ, we will now go to the next stage of the pandemic, which is the suppressed stage. And our objective here is to enhance our capability to treat those who are sick, to test and identify those who have been infected, to track those who have been exposed to infected persons, and to isolate them. Based on the guidelines provided by the government, essential businesses will continue to operate. There will be some businesses like manufacturing, electronics, and export that will be operating at partial capacity. Financial services and BPO will be operating at 50% work from home and 50% on-site. Schools, leisures, and tourism will remain 100% closed. Transportation will be at partial capacity and we will still not be able to travel by air. Malls will partially reopen and leisure activities are still not allowed. Schools will be closed. That's our scenario for GCQ.